Welcome to It's Personal, Finance Canada. I'm Christine Conway.
And I'm Cameron Conway.
And this podcast is a very personal look at personal finance in Canada. Welcome to It's Personal Finance Canada. I'm Christine Conway, here with Cameron Conway. And if you're in BC, Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, Ontario, or the Yukon, feel free to find us at braunfinancial.com. So this week's episode is actually a collection of other people's ideas. Nothing this week is going to be original content that we've created, but just stuff that's been bouncing around in my mind.
Yeah, we're affectionately calling this week's episode, Christine Spent Too Much Time on Instagram This Week.
Christine spends a lot of time on Instagram. And you know what? There's often a very small window of time that I get to myself from the time when my kids go to sleep to when I need to go to sleep as well.
It's usually about 15 minutes.
Results may vary. But this is where I like to fill my feed with pseudo-educational stuff, right? You learn a little, you get to laugh a little bit, kind of like this show. Content that's entertaining and educational as well. But a few nights ago, there were some key things that kind of reinforced thoughts that I've been having for a while. So I'm stringing them all together, and we're affectionately calling today's episode the most valuable thing you can buy, because I think that it kind of plays on what really is important and what really does matter.
So you're saying I shouldn't have gone out and bought a bunch of Warhammer sets last week?
Oh my goodness. Well, you know what? Maybe in this case, money can buy happiness because it does give you a lot of joy, but...
Well, it's less joy. It's more distraction from the impending doom of checking my phone every single day and see exactly what is going to destroy the market 2% today.
It's been a wild ride, and yes, sometimes stuff does help. But I think the core thought today is this idea that we buy things because we think they're going to bring us happiness. Or in your case, Cam, because you think it's going to bring you stress relief or release from this day that you've had, these days that we're continually having that seem to compound to the negative, right? And we buy things because they're permanent. You feel them, you touch them, you can put your hands on them. But in reality, what brings you the most happiness is not the stuff. It's not the thing that you're going to look back and say, oh, look at this little Warhammer thing that I built in March of 2025. At the end of your life, you're talking about experiences and time with people you've loved. So buying experiences and buying time are actually two of the more important things that you can do with your money.
Well, exactly. It's more fun to say, hey, here's this little orc my 4-year-old painted for the very first time. It's doing things with other people. It's finding those experiences. It's finding things that are worth remembering that's just beyond whatever you can buy at Walmart or whatever store you're not currently boycotting.
Well, boycotts aside, that is a pretty cool memory though, right? And in some cases, stuff does tie to the things that we value the most. But the concept is that we think that experiences are impermanent, and we think that stuff is permanent. So in our minds, we value the permanent over the impermanent, but in reality, it's the memories that are going to last a lifetime, not that orc that is going to end up in the garbage or under someone's desk or on the floor somewhere.
Well, no, it's the sense of value. We tend to assign value essentially to things with a little UPC barcode on the back, because you can scan it and it gives you a value. So, this has a value, which is a lot more esoteric when it's like an experience or time with friends than things that doesn't necessarily have a dollar amount tied to it. Even though you can spend money to have the experience, but it's more about the experience itself and less about the dollar amount. But again, we can even just tie this back to personal finance, that if you're going to spend the money, let's spend it towards something that will have a longer lasting, ongoing value for your life.
Well, absolutely. And I mean, if you think about it like that, if you think about an experience being something that, while it's impermanent, it lasts longer in your memory, think of like the bucket list concept. So this is something that I talk to people all the time as they're starting to plan their retirement. They get these ideas, and it's all around what they want to do, who they want to do it with, where they want to go. And none of it, or very little of it, is I want to buy this or I want to have this. A lot of people, when they feel like their working career is done, they've accumulated what they've wanted to accumulate. And it now becomes about the people and the places and the experiences and filling that memory bank instead of just that bank account with things that actually matter. Because at that stage in life, they're thinking forward to when they're sitting towards the end of their life in the retirement home or in a nursing home or hopefully with loved ones in their own home, where they're basically saying, oh, geez, hon, do you remember when? And the memory that they made together is something that lives on even beyond the life of the person that you've shared it with.
Yeah, some people it could be that vacation. Other people it could be moving to an idyllic small town to get away from the craziness of the city and the day-to-day and how it takes 20 minutes to do a 4-minute drive. You can get fed up with that after a while. But no, I grew up in a small town. We kind of had like the one general store, the one grocery store, 2 gas stations to go with the 2 traffic lights we had in the whole town. But some people, that could be the experience of just going somewhere calm and quiet and just having the chance to enjoy yourself.
That may or may not be our actual reoccurring fantasy of simplifying our lives, but it's true, right? It's people, us together. It's a place somewhere simpler where life moves a little bit more slowly, where the stress is gone. It's not about things. I couldn't care less if I had half the stuff we have now.
Well, hey, if the NASDAQ drops below 12,000, we're moving to a small town.
Oh my goodness. Oh, it's funny though, eh? Well, but people tie their wealth, the stock market there, impermanent. Even if you own shares in a company, right? Here today, gone tomorrow, based on sentiment, based on fear, based on trading, not based on reality. So separating the real from the unreal, I suppose, sometimes is an important concept to have generally. But for me, I found myself in these last couple weeks thinking back for myself over my own personal history. When I had a health issue a few years ago, all I wanted to do was spend time with family and a few very, very close friends. And of course, Cam, right? I wanted to be with Cam. I wanted to be with my kids. And you do. You fantasize about selling everything, moving to that cabin in the woods where you can live out your days barefoot by the water. But once you realize that that's not forever, you start thinking about the impact that you can have on the daily. You start thinking about what you can leave behind as a legacy. And even legacy, it's a thought, it's a memory, it's an impact that you want to have. It's not necessarily stuff, because when you think about how your kids are going to spend your money, here today, gone tomorrow, right? It's so much deeper than that.
Yeah, and crippling debt is not a worthwhile legacy to leave behind.
It's truly not. Oh my goodness. But this concept of reality checks or not, realizing that our life is not forever, it has this incredible way of bringing deep clarity to what is important and what is not. And you suddenly want to separate yourself from the mundane. You don't want normal. You don't want boring. You don't want, I've done it this way forever, so I'm going to keep doing it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't hit the same way. And you realize that so many people are locked in a pattern of what is predictably expected of them and not necessarily what they truly want in their lives. They've become very different things where we are driven by the need to pay the bills, to support our family, to have XYZ lifestyle. And at the end of the day, when you have these checks, when you have these balances in your life, you start to see it differently. Why am I living for someone else? Why am I living on someone else's agenda or timeline? And where are the things that I deeply value in my own life? How am I expressing those and living those to the fullest?
So this is like a good discussion to have, either just us right here between each of us and just you with yourself, because this helps you really direct what you want to do with your money, because time is finite. Most people's money is finite, and it's just trying to find the proper mathematical permutation to figure out what will bring you the most actual joy in your life.
Well, and I think when you realize that stuff itself doesn't do it for you anymore, the reason that you're saving your money changes. And the length of time you want to spend accumulating changes too, right? Because the purpose is now to enjoy your life. So I would argue that when people's view changes around money and around time and around experiences, you actually start to accumulate differently. You get your head out of the spreadsheet. You get your head out of that thinking that is so narrow about the budget, that is so constraining that you forget to live. And you decide that there's so much more to life than just counting these numbers, seeing this number or this line go up, especially with the understanding that if you're invested in the market, as many of us are, that can be wiped out in a day, right? That can change drastically for the good or for the better as time moves on, as markets change. So rather than obsessing over these details that are draining life from you and not really getting you that much further ahead, it's important to decide if these little tiny things that we are focused on are actually moving the needle for us. And what I mean by that is I do know people, and I'm one of them myself, that can get so far into their budget that you're counting the literal dollars. And I don't know anything else that sucks the joy out of life more than making a decision that might credit your bank account $2, $3, $4, $5, but takes away from the experience of living.
Yeah, Christine used to count it down to the penny until they got rid of the penny, and she just never really recovered after that.
It changed my whole life, not for the better. It's true. I can't round on the daily like that. But no, it's true. Cam can speak to this firsthand because he lived it through with me, and he experienced it with me, just how rigid I could be and how much I have changed, hopefully, I suppose, since then, in the sense that it's different now. And the things I value are different now. And when I talk to my clients, this idea of, I want to save this, I want to save that, I need XYZ for retirement, my favorite question that people are not expecting to ask them is why? Why are you saving this money? Yes, you need to put a roof over your head. Yes, you need to pay your essential bills. Yes, you might still have a mortgage, but once all of that is taken care of, why? And when you define your why, you can also determine how much you need to save in a different way. And you can balance the time it takes you to save that money with the experiences that you want to have later.
Yeah, and this is a different way to kind of look at everything because it's just what we assign value and what is just essentially taught and ingrained into us that this is just normal. Your value is in your consumption. Your normal is in what you spend your money on. It's what you spend your time on to get the money to go out and spend. And we tend to consciously or unconsciously forget kind of that more like esoteric or even just another word, just that what is the other things that help you? What are the other things that give meaning beyond something that has, like I said before, a little UPC or RFID code on it? It's why are you doing this? What are you trying to seek by spending your money in certain ways? And I guess we should probably come into, the next stage of this whole conversation now, right?
Absolutely. Well, to kind of just wrap up what you were saying, we live in a society that judges based on appearance. That is why we value stuff. Stuff is how we form our social acceptance of each other, really, right? We must be the same. We must be of the same socioeconomic class because we drive similar cars and live in the same neighborhood. When you start to realize that none of that matters, it will completely change your way of thinking.
Yes, I like to think myself as being wise and mature, and I express that by walking my dog in pajama pants and just not caring anymore.
You know what? We all mature differently. There's no judgment here. But to kind of move on in the discussion, if I can get that visual out of my head for a minute.
Oh, you saw it for an hour today.
I did. Yeah, I lived the dream. I lived the dream this afternoon.
Along with the two well-sized young kids in a wagon up angle like that up the hill.
Two kids in a wagon. Yep. But let's move on. So we've talked about, like, if we're judging this on the who, why, where, right? The who, the person that you're going to have these experiences with, or the people that come to mind when you're preparing your bucket list and when you're saying to yourself, this is what I want to do. The most natural thing is, who do I want to do this with? And I think this is another area that deserves our intention. It deserves us taking the actual time to think this through. Because again, on Instagram, I was listening to another speaker that was saying that we would do well in our lives to cut out relationships that were only like so about. And she described it as, that person that's on your calendar that you keep pushing aside, or someone that you've been friends with for a long time, but you're really not on the same place in life anymore, or on the same wavelength, and you don't have much in common, but you just status quo it. You keep it up. And when you start thinking about it as you are giving people these people your time, you're giving them your energy, you're giving them part of yourself that could go in so many other directions, is it worth it? Where should you value your time in the sense of the people that you're giving it to? And when you think about it in terms of an exchange of energy, you know how the right person will make you feel good. They'll lift your mood. You'll leave feeling great, elevated. They've cheered you on. You've done the same. And the wrong people leave you feeling depleted, and you actually need a recovery period of time after that, because they've actually taken something from you. They have physically taken time. They have physically taken life energy, and you have given to them, but it wasn't returned, and that's why you feel depleted.
Yeah, it's the difference between like the cheerleaders in your life and the ever hungry vampires in your life.
The energy vampires we were talking about earlier. Yeah, but the best relationships are those that are mutual. The ones that where you're lifting each other up. In friendships, for me, cheerleading is the number one thing. You want to be aligned with people that you get so excited when they do something that makes them happy, that you cannot help but feel that joy and that happiness for them. And that level of sharing with another person, bearing your life, sharing your dreams, your hopes, your vision, that's the truest understanding of who we are, who we hope to be. It's a whole other level of intimacy in relationships. And I mean, that can be romantic or platonic. A lot of these relationships are platonic in nature. But this idea...
It's friendship based in philosophy on Plato.
Well, just, no romantic aspect too, right? But this idea that you can have this incredible bond that grows over time because you're giving energy to each other and you're actually helping that other person become the best version of themselves, because you're showing them what you see and you're showing them who they can be. And when they take that and start to believe that as their reality, you watch them change and you watch them grow to fit that vision. And that is such a cool experience to have. So if the who is so important, our job is to intentionally distill down who matters in our lives and why. And part of this for me is getting away from these stock answers like, oh, it's my husband because, sorry, Cam, it's my husband because we've been married for 20 years. You know what? I'm in my 40s now. I've had friends that divorce, that remarry, that change relationships. People fall out of love in relationships all the time because the daily is nothing like the fantasy that we're sold, right? Like we're told as a woman that you're going to be whisked away with chocolates and wine and romance and all of these fun, exciting vacations and things you're going to do together. And he's going to be a perfect gentleman, probably has a horse. But in reality, what you get is you get work pressure and raising kids, which is stressful, and job stress and a challenge, because you're no longer the best version of yourself in those moments when you're stressed and when you're challenged.
Yes, all the things that are not included in the rom-com.
And they are not, no, because it would be a very short movie that would end in bickering. And why are these people still together?
All this stuff happens after Christmas, so just no one sees it.
In a special time of year when all the rom-coms come out, yes. But it's true, right? Choosing a person because it's been status quo, because you don't want change, can be the wrong answer for a lot of people. And I mean, no judgment over anyone's long-term relationship, short-term relationships, or marriage, but just in terms of what challenges us to be the best versions of ourselves, it's someone that you care enough about to be kind to. It's someone that you care enough about to give your best version of yourself to, even when you're exhausted and you feel like you have nothing left to give. I feel like that should be the definition of marriage. When I am completely depleted, am I still going to go that extra step? And Cam does this for me all the time when I know he's exhausted. But that to me is love more than any fairy tale, any horse, any box of chocolates.
So why are we talking about this on a personal finance podcast? Because divorces are expensive.
I wasn't going to go there at all. I was talking about the value of relationships and being aligned with the right people. And I was trying to demonstrate, I mean, we have a healthy marriage. We have a happy marriage. But I think that part of the reason for that is we connect really well emotionally. And we connect really well intellectually, right? Like I can have intelligent conversations about topical things, about politics, about the markets, about things that we're both interested in outside of work. And of course, there's a good romantic connection there as well. But beyond that, I think those are the elements that people maybe overlook when they're choosing their partner, right? Yeah, we're not going to get into, I think we've probably transitioned that one enough.
Yeah, so let's now abruptly change subject before either of us get in more trouble than we're already in. So a lot of people, they look at their money, they think, oh, I need to fill my bank account. But I think something we are kind of showing with this episode is that there is actually a different account you should be kind of stocking away for and trying to fill up. And really, that is the memory bank, not the silicone one in my computer, but your own personal memory bank of experiences. And this might actually be more important for your overall well-being and then just only thinking about the physical bank account at whatever bank or credit union has no tellers and can't really deal with you today.
Aw, but yeah, it's the point that we have seen over the course of our career lots and lots of very, very lovely older individuals that will die with that $1 million in their bank account. And that represents years of accumulation that was not realized for that individual. And yes, it'll benefit the next generation. And yes, it will create a legacy. And for some people, that was the intended purposes, and that's enough. But for a lot of people, it can represent lost opportunity. And the lost opportunity there, well, there's never anything wrong with having a lot of money. The lost opportunity could be that instead of taking the time to have these experiences, to build that memory bank, to build that collection of your favorite memories, all of these experiences that you wanted to have, all of these places you wanted to go to see, the time with the people, drinking the wine, eating the dessert, having these memorable experiences, those are the things that you want to have them stored for yourself. And like Cam alluded, the best place to store them is in a memory bank, right?
Yeah, so like I was saying, these are the things that have true long-lasting value in your life. And this is why we work. This is why we sacrifice so much time, because we are hoping to have some small sliver of time to actually enjoy and find meaning and find relationship and development and all these other things. So we're trading a big chunk of time for this hopeful little sliver of time that we can hopefully actually enjoy.
So let's jump back to the title of this episode. What is the most valuable thing that you can buy?
Insurance.
Insurance helps a lot. We are living testaments of that. But no, buying back your time. And this is where financial advice can help. Whether it's going through the budget, whether it's creating passive income, whether it's understanding how much of a nest egg that you need to generate money that you can't deplete, or buying that annuity, it's buying yourself the space to have those experiences. It's buying yourself the ability to be able to walk away from a career that you don't want anymore because you have a security blanket in place. It's taking yourself out of the norm and out of this situation where a bunch of us have been in before, where we do what we're expected to do because we're expected to do it and don't think about it further. So that's the big challenge today. The big challenge today is to think differently. And rather than leaning on things that are permanent in nature, the stuff that we love to accumulate, get rid of the stuff. It has limited value anyways. Focus on the impermanent that actually becomes permanent in your mind. And like I said, a true legacy is not just financial. A true legacy is sharing those memories, sharing the memory bank with someone else that has had those same experiences with you. And that will live on. That will be your living testament long after you're gone. Because those things that you did together, those places that you went to, and those things that you saw, and the things that you did, and the people that you carefully selected to carry on your legacy, you'll live on in that way, right? You'll live on in those warm smiles and in those happy thoughts that you can bring to someone else for the time that you shared together. I just want to say that it has been so prevalent in my mind lately that time is truly the most important thing that we have. More than work, more than money, spending it with the people that matter, and eliminating all of the rest is the most important thing that you can do for yourself if you're looking to build a good quality of life. And if you're the person that can do this on a lower standard of living and get that enjoyment and still be able to do it sooner because you don't have to accumulate as much, power to you. If you're the person that does like that big lifestyle, then there's balance there too that you can find, right? Just whatever choices you're making today, realize that our time here is finite, and the people, the experiences, the memories, and the freedom that we can have with our time are the things that truly do matter the most. Money isn't everything, and you'll accumulate differently once you realize that you have limited time. There's limited value in stuff. So if you're looking to have a conversation like this, where you're trying to figure out just how much do I need to live this lifestyle that I want, whatever that lifestyle might look like, and you're in one of the provinces that we're licensed, feel free to find us at braunfinancial.com. We are, of course, a little bit off the cuff. This is a little bit different and probably the last thing you thought you'd hear from a financial planner, but we're real people too. We have real lives. We have kids. We have things that make us happy, things that make us sad. We've been through all of it just like you have. And we understand that personal finance, financial planning has to be as personal as the things and the people that are important to you. So until next time, take care.
And so long, carbon tax. And all the best.